Good day, everyone. Welcome to the next installment of the Predictive Solutions Customer Webinar Series. My name is Kent Zala, and I'm the Director of Operations here at Predictive Solutions. If at any time during this webinar you have any questions, please use the chat function at the upper right of your screen and just send me a note, and we'll hold those to the end, and we'll get to your questions as best we can. So with me today is Kieran Jaglinki. Many of you might have spoken to him or emailed with him over the years. He's one of our longest tenured employees with 14 years behind him here at Predictive Solutions. And figuring Predictive Solutions is only about 15 years old anyway, so he's really been here since the beginning of time. So he knows SafetyNet inside and out, and you're going to be in great hands with Kieran. He's going to talk about dashboards and alerts. There's a lot of things that you can do in SafetyNet to communicate amongst your organizations, and dashboards and alerts are certainly one way to do it. Dashboards being a way to kind of give a look at things at a high level, see how you're trending in different areas, and then of course alerts are more, very specific to something that's happening right now. So we'll go into the details of that. Before I get, turn it over to Kieran, so let me remind you that we also have another webinar, a really good refresher webinar coming up on August 24th, same time at 2 p.m. Eastern, and that's with Teresa DeVore. She's also a long-term employee here at Predictive Solutions. She's going to be presenting SafetyNet 101, which is really, like I said, just a refresher of everything across SafetyNet applications. So you'll get a review on how to, do things like adding contacts and users and projects and doing some basic things as reports and so on. So that'll be a great session for you if you need a good reset button and a refresher on all things SafetyNet. Lastly, before I hand it over to Kieran, one more thing. Nashville, October 3rd through the 5th. We have our customer conference. Please join us. This is a great opportunity for you to not only learn, but also to network with other people who are using the system and other safety professionals in general. On that Monday, we have two interesting tracks for you. You can do sort of a SafetyNet University, kind of learn the basics of in and out of SafetyNet, or you can spend some time, or do both. You can spend some time with your process improvement leader. You can set up a time slot to sit down with them and just review things specific to your organization. So please come this fall. The other thing that's really interesting about this particular customer conference is we took questions that we constantly hear that are safety related, that we hear from customers, and we brainstormed all those and put them into categories. And so what we're really doing in this conference, which is forging your pathway to safety excellence, is the theme. Is we're looking at safety, answering the questions that you continually ask that are safety related, and then using SafetyNet to show you how you can answer those questions as well. So we're kind of taking a little different spin on that's really starting on the second day and the third day, so it's the Tuesday and Wednesday. So come to the conference. Look forward to seeing you there. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Kieran. Kieran, it's all yours.
Thank you, Kent. Good day, everyone. I see a lot of familiar names there, and I hope you guys are doing great. And thank you so much for joining us today. So today's topic is dashboards and dashboard goals and alerts. Most of you might have used this, and in some way or the other, what we're trying to do here is kind of a refresher course and try to see why you would need this and how you can better track your safety performance. So without much ado, I'm going to get into my presentation. The first slide, which you guys see here, I got this from our previous customer conference presentation. This was presented by our general manager, Griffin Schultz. So we speak about the pyramid. So you see the base layer, you see the middle layer, and the top layer, right? The base layer is just data access, collection of data, how you collect your data, right? How you work on your inspections, how you upload your inspections. Are you doing it on the mobile app or on the web app? The middle layer is the first level of the analysis, right? The reports what we have and how you try to use those reports to track your safety. And the third one, which happens to be the predictive model, so that is the top layer. So based on the data what you guys feed in and also the data what we have, so we run our predictive models to do the prediction, right? So I just wanted to get this right in front before we get into the dashboards and understanding the data. Now, how do you know if you're on the right track, right? The three elements, what we mentioned here, the dashboards, goals, alerts, right? So these are pretty common terms which we use in normal life, right? It could be as simple as a car dashboard. It could be a simple goal that you want to put 7 miles a week. You want to walk 7 miles a week. That's your goal, right? And an alert, a low gas message, right on your car dashboard, right? So these are pretty common things, which we kind of use, kind of see, and try to follow them just to get our basic things done. And we try to use the same thing, on safety net, right? The agenda would be, we would actually go through the dashboards, a quick overview, right? We also go through location company dashboards. Location, I kind of generalize that term. So some of you might use it as project, some of you might use it as sites. I just got it as location where the work happens. And of course, the company dashboard where your observations are being observed, right? And we'll spend some time on the goal module, try to see how we create a goal, the basic components, and what kind of results we're trying to achieve or we are trying to track, right? And we'll look at the different types of goals and how we set up. And we talk about the communication and alerts, right? And we also, just cover one case example. So that's the agenda. Now let's get on to the dashboards. So again, one of the most used terms, at least in America, because you guys are car-loving people. I come from India, and so in India, public transportation is so huge. So when I was in India, when I watched these movies, you have movies based on road trips, and I know your love for cars. So a dashboard is something what you guys all use, know, and also understand what it exactly gives you, right? Just from the concept that you guys love your cars, right? So typically, you have a home dashboard. So when you log on to SafetyNet, so this is where this is the screen you get when you log on, right? Now, I kind of classify the screen into three parts. You see the left section. This would be your criteria section. The middle section is your KPI section. And the third section is your customized notification section. Now, the reason I call it as a criteria section is because on the left-hand side, you can actually select an inspection type or switch between inspection types to get the data specific to that inspection type. Now, apart from that, you also have a section called as quick links and search, and you can search a project, contact, and company from here. It's kind of a shortcut what I use. So, in some cases, when you guys go to find companies or find projects, and if you have a big list of projects, the grid sometimes it takes more than a few seconds to load up. And when I'm on a call, I need that screen, that search window to be coming up pretty quick. So what I do is I just do a search right here under the quick links section. So I type in the project name, or I type in the contact name or a company name, and I get the find location page. So that's the reason I call that as the criteria section, right? Now, as I mentioned before, that's when you tap on when you click on that inspection type field, you get the list of available inspection types on your side, on your zone, right? So you have an all, which would include all the inspection types, right? this is one of the few sections, few areas where we have that option all, right, where you can actually roll up all your data. I know some of you out there would like to have that option on every report, and we heard you guys. We will, we are actually we passed on those notes and feedback to the developers. So we heard you, and we know that you need it. So, but again, so this is one of those sections where you have the all function, right? So you can select that, switch between the inspection types, and the middle section, as I mentioned before, this is the KPI section, right? Now, the KPI section here, it's divided into two parts. The first part, which came up on your screen, so this is for the entire company, and you can see that over here. This is from the test environment, and we call it as giant construction. So this is the company overview, right? So just by looking at it, what am I seeing? So for the past 12 weeks, I'm looking at the inspections metric. That's getting down. My incidents are at a flat rate. The late fixes are going up. So just from this window, just from this particular view, I can see that the participation or the engagement of the safety system is not being used totally. So you can see the inspections are getting down, and you also see that the late fixes. So by default, we have a 48 hours window to close the open issues. You can always configure it based on your requirement, right? And if anything which is not closed within the 48 hours, that's the late fix. So that's getting up. So based on just the screen, I can see there's something wrong. And I can also see the auditors are down. So the participation, which I mentioned before, is actually coming down, which kind of relates to the number of inspections which are also coming down. Now, as I mentioned before, the below KPI thing, the second KPI thing on that screen, that is related to the available options what you have. So that's kind of a customized thing, and you can actually show up your projects, your regions, your categories. So in this case, in this view, we actually picked up the project view, and you're seeing the KPIs for that particular project. So on the top view, even though you see the late fixes are going up, for this one, the late fixes are flat, right? The assets are going up. But now again, these are specific to that particular project for the 12 weeks period. I'm going to go to the next section, which is the last one under that middle KPI section. So this is your list. I'll just wait for the screen to load up. So as I mentioned before, so this section, this list, the list view can be managed by yourself. So for this particular presentation, we selected the project. You can also do it by the region. You can also do it by the category, and you can also do it by contractor. And by project, you have additional drop-downs. You can just view your current project, your projects, the projects you're assigned with, your current projects, and a single region. So again, all these things, you can the list what you see there, you have control to see to display what you want. Now, I'm going to just go back to the previous screen and show you the second KPI section. So the project Atomium, this one, the second KPI shows up from the first listed element. So if I go to this list again, so Atomium is the first listed project, and by default, that shows up under that KPI section. Now, if you want that to be updated, if you want another project to show up, if you want to see what's Alexander Stadium doing, so you just have to click on that, and you'll see that the project KPI would update, and it will show information for Alexander Stadium. All right, and as I mentioned before, we have options. So this is how a category KPI view would look like. So we clicked on categories, and you see a list of categories here. Now these are sorted by the severity. You can see a little delta icon on the top. So that's descending. So we're looking at the most severe categories, and we found electrical, right? And that's what is showing up. So if you want to know about fall protection, you just have to click on fall protection, and this KPI section here would get updated, right? And the third section is more like for the user's customized notification section. And you have it is divided into three parts. The first one would be My Alerts. Now, that's something which we would be covering along with the dashboards, along with the goals. And so that section would show you the goals, what you have created, the ones which were, the goals which were met, and the ones which were not met. And you can see them listed by met goals and unmet goals. And you have the report section at the bottom. You can actually run the different reports what we have, and you can save those results here. So we're looking at a couple of reports here. So the bottom right-hand section, the number of inspection, the number of sector observations. So this is more like an observer summary report, and you're looking at the list of observers with their inspections. And and the left of it, you have the contractors with their at-risk numbers. So this is your contractor summary report, and you're asking the system to display the at-risk numbers for those contractors. And most observed category, this comes from the summary report, and most at-risk, again, comes from the summary report. So these are the reports which you can run under the reports menu, and you can actually save the list to home to get the section updated. And you have the charts. So again, these are from the reports again. You have the trending reports, you have the summary reports where you get these charts, and you can save those charts from the report criteria where you have a button which says save the chart to home, and you can give it a name, and you can get that saved on your home dashboard. Now, as I mentioned before, so we were talking about location dashboards. Again, this is the generalized term for your project site, work area, right? So you go to a location by going to the location menu and clicking on Find Location, and that will give you your list of locations. You can also do the search from your home dashboard from that project field, just typing in a project and do a search. But this will give you your list of locations. Now, you can click on any of these locations. I'm going to select the 40 Wall Street. And when I do that, it's going to bring me up the location dashboard. So this is what we call as the location landing page. Now, this is the second dashboard what we have. So you can see it is a little similar to the home dashboard, but it is more specific to a location. The middle section again, so it has two sets of KPIs. The first one is for the entire location, and the second one you can actually customize it based on the available options what we have. And the right-hand side, you have your alerts and a couple of scoreboards and a couple of graphs, which I will be getting into in detail. So the alerts are specific to that particular project, and if there are any goals assigned to that project, they would show up there. Now, we have another one which is called a 30-day scoreboard. Again, the 30 days is customizable, or you can actually change that based on your requirement from the backend. You just have to send us a request to support@predictivesolutions.com, and we can update that for you guys. And it actually looks at your most unsafe subcategories, most hazardous categories. So if you're looking at housekeeping, 21 hazardous, 21 observations under housekeeping. So you can actually, drill down. You can actually run a specific report on this project and see where exactly why this is happening, right? So this would again give you that the indicators where to look at. You're not at loss on what's happening on the project, because right on that project landing page, you're being told that, hey, you know what, these are some specific areas I would like to focus, I would like to pay attention to, right? That's your 30-day scoreboard. And the next one, we have the observation severity level and the open issues resolution rate, right? Now, the observation severity level, we have 4 sets of severities. We have low, medium, high, and imminent or light threat. Again, those labels, you might use it in a different way, but those are the 4 options we have. And some of you might be using, less than 4. But this would give you a quick representation on how your unsafe observations are distributed on this particular project, right? In this case, there are a good number of serious level observations, so that's the 58.38. So you might want to focus on that. So why are they being serious, right? And you also have an open issues resolution rate. This comes pretty handy. So before these dashboards, and I used to work with a lot of you, I see a lot of you here, we used to talk about the open issues report, and before this dashboard, and on a timely basis, we used to see how many open issues are there for a particular project. They would do the own math, schedule some reports on a weekly basis. So we used to do those stuff just to make sure, how many open issues you have on a particular contractor or a project. Now you have it right here. So 62% is the open issues resolution rate. Now, is that good? So that's a question I would ask myself, right? So you still have 38% ones which are not being closed on time. So that's an area of improvement, right? But this again gives you, how diligent your team is on this particular project to get those issues which have been assigned or which have been listed as open issues that are getting fixed. All right, and the goal progress. So this indicates the goals that have been assigned to this project, and it tells you on a I wouldn't say up to date, but it would have a one-day prior information, because this dashboard is based on the data warehouse refresh. So it would actually give you the data from yesterday, and it will give you a good indicator on how your team is performing their tasks. So if you have set a goal of, let's say, about 5 inspections for this project for each member, it will show up that progress here. So that's an indicator for you guys. The next is the company dashboard. And to access companies, you go to the companies menu, you click on Find Company. It'll give you the list of companies. I'm going to pick up the 49ers commercial. And again, this is the third dashboard what we have. Something similar, but more specific to the company. I'm going to focus on the right-hand side here, which is the speedometer, what I call. It would actually give you the average unsafe per inspection for this particular contractor. And if you look at, I tried to get the right image, but for the first listing over here, it's going to tell you all contractors. So that's all contractors on the zone. That's 2.32. That's the company average. Now this particular company is at 3.32, and then below you have something called as the company type, and that gives you the company type's average. So there is a company type field, on the company page, which you might want to use. So you can actually, reuse it or repopulate it in whatever way you feel or whatever way it works for you. One of the good things about that company type is you can actually classify your contractors, and then you can get these metrics better. So that's one good option you might want to look into. 30-day scoreboard. Again, the 30 days can be customizable. We can actually update it as per your requirement. It shows the most unsafe categories, most hazardous categories based on that particular contractor. So this is the contractor-specific numbers. And then we have the observation level severity and most observed categories. Now, again, this is for the contractor-specific data, and this is for the 49ers commercial. So these metrics you can actually look into and see where you might want to focus for this particular contractor. So looks like 49ers commercial need some kind of training or some kind of coaching on their housekeeping. This chart right here, it gives it tells us that they're doing a pretty shoddy job on their housekeeping. You might want to run a detailed report on that particular contractor for for whatever projects they are assigned to for a given period of time, you can also get on that detailed report, you can get your additional details on those unsafe observations, any other attached images, and you can actually have a meaningful conversation with this contractor. So to run that detailed report, this is your first step, this is your first line. So this is an indicator for you guys on where this contractor is missing. So the next slide what I have here is just a basic flight plan. It's more about, how do you arrive at your destination, right? So what do you do? So you always, take a step-by-step approach, right? The flight plan is just for the slide, for the presentation here. It could be anything. It could be, how do you go from point A to point B, right? It could be just taking your car, driving from home to work, or anywhere, or it could be anything. So it's always a step-by-step approach, right? You take up the first step, you take the next one, and the next one, and then you reach your destination, right? Now, one of the case example which I brought in, the case example which I mentioned in my agenda, right, is something called as 100% safe. And, our P&T team have, some way got this image, and it speaks a lot. This particular image speaks a lot, right? You see a guy wearing the safety equipment, doing the work, and you can see, how exactly he's doing, right? And the 100% safe is something, which can be linked to, multiple attributes. Sometimes, you have one of your inspectors who's supposed to do his inspection, he's set to do that inspection, and he kind of pencil whips, his inspection. He picks up all the categories and will be like, yeah, it's all safe, just to meet his quota, right? And part of it could be the checklist issue. Maybe the questions what you have in your checklist are not trying to, give you the right answers. The training deficiencies, apprehension and fear. This is the common thing. So when I first, and again, this is like 12 years back. So when I first got trained on safety net, I thought when I was doing my inspections, I thought I need to add only safe. And whenever I used to look at my inspection and I saw my safety percent less than 90%, my safe percent less than 90%, I used to think that I did a wrong job. But then it's not about you trying to avoid unsafe just to get your safe percent up. It's about trying to get your environment safe. It's about trying to keep your people safe, right? And it doesn't happen if you're not collecting your unsafe, right? So if I say a project is 100% safe on safety net, it just tells me that people are just collecting safe, or maybe people are not looking at things properly, right? And the quotas, that's what I mentioned before, right? So you set the number of inspections for your team to be completed in a given point of time, and then you try to, these guys try to get those inspections in, and just to meet their quota, they just try to add observations and just finish off their inspection. The job is done, and you get a high percent of safe. Now, you need to literally reassess your culture. So you need to actually retrain the idea of collecting your observations, right? And safety truth 3, we have 4 safety truths. Now, this is based on our predictive models. Now, the chart, what you see on the right, it's actually the truth number 3. So on the left-hand side, you have the risk of incidents, and on the bottom we have the at-risk observations, the frequency, right? Now, if you notice, if you have low number of at-risk observations, if you're collecting low number of at-risk observations, your incident frequency or your rate of your incidents would be more. And it's actually getting down if you're collecting more incidents, and again, it's getting up if you have like more and more at-risk. So the right mix is not to have your 100% safe inspections. As a matter of fact, if you look at the chart, you can see more 100% safe inspections or less number of at-risk, your project is more at-risk to get incidents, right? And that's where we actually come up with the goals section. Now, when I mentioned about that 100% safe and talking about quota, and one of the options in the goals is to set the number of inspections you want your team to complete in a given point of time in a particular location, right? Now, you might think that it might defeat the purpose. It might defeat the purpose. Why do I want to force my team to get these number of inspections done? Now, take this goal as a good coaching tool to get the right participation. And we also have other options under these goals, which we would go through, that would help you to know if these guys are actually collecting the right information, what they are supposed to collect. And to access goals, that's under administration. So an administrator has access to create or manage the goals. So it would be a safety net administrator, right? When you click on manage goals, you get the goals view, right? Now, you can click on the add new goal button, and that opens up the new goal, right? And you got to type in the name. Now, the red fields, as you all know, are the mandatory ones. You need to fill them, right, to create your goal. So you type in a name, right, and then you select the metric type. And these are the different metrics available under the goals module. So we have number of inspections average days between. So that's a good option. The inspections average days between would actually tell you if your inspectors are kind of entering all their inspections at the end of the week. So the number of observations with comments. So all these, the number of observations, the metrics what you have here, the mix what we have here would allow you to actually monitor not just the quota per se, but the quantity of the inspections or the observations that are being collected. Unsafe observations per inspection, unsafe observations per inspection by category, right? And your severities, right? The high percent of total, high per inspection. The moderate would be the medium. So you have 4 levels of your severities, right? So moderate or medium, high would be high, and the unsafe observations past due date. When you look at the goal, so you actually have a couple of components that you might want to keep in mind. So the target is the one what you're assigning that goal to. So for instance, here we have the options as inspector, region, project, contractor, full zone. So you might have your own team of safety inspectors. So you're assigning them by person. So you have a team of 5 safety inspectors and you're selecting them by name and you're going to use the inspector. Or you want to apply this to an entire region and you want to select the region. Or you want to do it for a project, you can do it for a project. And if you're selecting the project, that's where the project dashboard would show up for the alerts. The contractor and the full zone would be for everyone on the system, right? Now, because we selected inspector for this presentation, you see the field below, those are the auditors. Now, these would be the people you can select. So you can actually click on that, the browse link, get a pick a window, and pick the people you want to put in. The region would be this is another dependent field. So you can actually select a region altogether to get those people on instead of selecting inspectors by name. And again, the region would be the options would differ for each of you. Inspection type. Again, another section where you have all as an option. So you can set, based on your requirement, based on what you're tracking, you can always select either all or safety, or again, based on what exactly you're looking for, right? And then you're defining a range. So for this example, we're looking at the number of inspections. So I'm going to say for this, for these inspectors, I'm going to put I need at least 10 inspections. So I have two fields here, greater than or equals, or less than or equals, right? So I want them to have at least 10 inspections, so I'm going to put the 10 inspections in the first field, right? And once you define your range, you would have the evaluation period, right? And you have a couple of options here. The first one would be the previous, and you assign a specific number of days, weeks, months, or years. Or you can also select the second option, which is year to date, right? The frequency is the next one. This would tell you when you want this goal to evaluate and be set. So it's just kind of on a daily basis. So the range what you have defined, so the 10 inspections, what I gave you as an example, is that for a day, is that for a week, or is that for a month? So I can define it here. I can define that frequency here. And the event date would be the date where the system would consider the goal is done, and it would send a notification saying, hey, this goal for this particular project or for these inspectors, you have X number of guys who met the goal and Y number of guys who did not meet the goal, and you'll see a delta, which tells you, on how many counts they missed it, right? And the event date is, again, you're going to pick up the date. And the next component would be the recipient. Now, we have two sets of recipients here for the goals. So we have in this case, for the auditor, in this case, we selected the inspector metric. So we have the auditor field. So once we fill in those inspector names, we can let the people who have been selected with the assigned goal, we can let the people receive those notifications. And to do that, we have what is called as notify targets. So when you check the box, it will send out a notification to those targets. Now, that will not be the full goal notification. They would only receive their part. They would only see, hey, you know what? Did I meet it? So that's their part, right? Now, that's the notify targets. Now, we also have what's called as recipients. Now, the recipients are the ones who will receive the full the goal notification. So let's say you have like 10 people listed on this goal. Now, when I select notify targets, John Doe, John Smith, John Doe would receive his part, John Smith would receive his part, and for the recipients, let's say we listed Ken Zala, and Ken Zala would receive the full notification, and he would see all the 10 people, under the met or unmet goals based on the completion of work, right? And we have another component called severity. So the severity is like it's how you classify your goal, how you think it is important. The way it shows up, I'm going to show you in the next slide. So we have critical, major, and minor, right? Critical occupies the highest level, major the middle, minor the last. Now, whatever you select here, that would show up on the alert part, which we would deal later. Now, alert on no results, by default, this is no. If you want to be alerted, if there are no results, meaning no inspections or no activity, you can actually turn that as yes. So if the goal has not been met totally, right? So that's a no result. So if you want those kind of notifications, you can select that yes, and that would send out notifications, right? And then we have on the user interface, on the web interface, we have on the goals module, evaluate link, which is called evaluate goal. So when you click on that evaluate goal, that would show you, how the goal has been computed. So in this case, we looked at the number of inspections, the range definition, we put it as 2. This is for 1 week. And we have one recipient, which is Stephen Villarreal. And we have the list of inspectors, the number of inspections they did, and this is the delta they missed, and that's 100%. So these guys, the list of people, what you see here, they have not met their goal criteria. So they didn't do any inspections, so they didn't meet any goals. Now, this is another cool image for our P&D team collected. I love it. You know, sometimes when I run on low gas, I want this to happen, right? But yeah, so we do have you know, alerts on our dashboard, which would kind of remind you that, hey, you know, there's something happening. You know, it kind of shouts for your attention. And you see these alerts on all the 3 dashboards, right? So the alert section, it would give you the list of goals that have been assigned and that have been met or unmet, right? Now, the major alert here, and you can see the icon here. So the goal type, what we talked about before, that decides the particular icon. So once you start using these alerts, so that icon would actually tell you that, hey, there's a major one going on. So for this one, so this is a major goal or major alert, and this is for the summit zone inspections, and that is a met goal, right? And there's an unmet goal here. This is the critical alert, and you see the triangle in red color, right? And this is an unmet goal, and when you click on it, it gives you the a brief info on that goal, the goal criteria, and the goal results, right? Now, the whole concept between the dashboards and goals are more like, you know, calling for your attention right when you log on to Safety Net system, even before you think about running a report, just give you a bird's eye view on what's happening, right? And the areas you might want to focus on, right? And you can always learn the other functions on our user resources. We have the support team at your disposal. We have our process and technology team at your disposal. And most of you, you know, shoot us an email or give us a call. And to get better use of your dashboards, all that we need is just make sure, you know, what kind of expectations you have from your team, and how you want to use your dashboards, right? They can provide you a good source of indicators where you can actually try to focus on the areas pretty easily, as opposed to just try to, you know, look for the needle in a haystack, right? And the manage goal feature, you know, it helps you to measure the progress, and on the project dashboard, which I mentioned, you know, there is a section under the project dashboard where it actually gives you the slider chart, which tells you how your goal is progressing over the course of time, right? You don't have to literally wait for that goal to come to you, right? So whenever you go to that project, you see that, right? And the meeting and missing goals, met and unmet goals, that has to be acknowledged. If it's a met goal, you know, he has to be appreciated. The team has to be appreciated. If it's unmet, we need to figure out why it's unmet, right? Are there any other features? Are there any aspects? Is there any training required, you know? So all these things. So acknowledgement, you know, that talks about these communications, right? So you keep engaged with your team, and you can better use our system. Now, we have user resources on Predictive Solutions. You know, when you log on to Predictive Solutions, on the top right-hand side, where you have your name, the reset password link, you have that user resources. We have wealth of information there. P&T team, the customer care team, they've worked a lot of hours, you know, developing those user guides, those videos. We try to keep them, you know, up to date, you know, and we try to include, you know, any new user guides or any new information based on the new things what we put in. So please try visiting that, you know, good source of information. And again, you always have us. So with this, I'm going to end my presentation. I'm going to leave the floor for questions. So click them on.
Yeah, thank you, Kieran. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please use the chat function. You'll see that either at the top right of your screen, or you might have a pull down that's green that you can at the top of your middle of your screen, and you'll see a little chat bubble. Go ahead and feel free to type any questions you might have. And while you're typing questions, I will let you know a couple other logistics pieces. We have recorded this session, so the recording will be available. I'll send it out with the next invite to the next webinar, so I'll invite all of you to the next one. I usually do that 2 weeks prior to the next webinar. Again, the next webinar is SafetyNet 101 coming up on August 24th, so I'll send out that invite around the 10th or so. So look for that in your email box. The other thing I'd like to mention too is that we are doing even more coming up, and if you come to the conference, you'll probably see some of this, and Bob DiMaggio, our product manager, will give us an update at the conference in October, but we are doing more with dashboards and more with the data visualization. So what we have today, we're expanding on and actually given some really interesting capabilities so that you can interact more with these dashboards. So the idea is that you can think, answer your questions as you think of them by clicking on different elements of the dashboard and drilling through them and filtering based on certain selection criteria and so forth. So that's coming up, and so we're doubling down on a lot of that. As well as on the goals, we've heard loud and clear that can we create some better ways to visualize those goals, which is available now based on the last release that came out a couple weeks ago. You have a grid tool for your goals, so you can output that in a spreadsheet if you like, or just view it on screen or filter it, and you have all your grid tools available to actually see your goals and work with them there. Also coming down the pike on the roadmap is ways to, we're going to expand upon that even and do more on the scheduling side and so forth, so you can schedule tasks. I did get one question. Karen, you want to address this or read it?
Sure. This question is from Lori Wolfersberger. I guess I got the last name right. The question is, I upload all information at my location into the site. All the information we covered today, can anyone get on these dashboards and topics, or do I need special admin rights to access this information?
So if I understand the question is that, we have, it depends on your contract. In general, we have basically 2 levels of types of users, but sometimes, especially customers who have been around a while, might have a different type of contract where we used to only have one. It was a little more expensive, but we only had one type of user, in which case you had full access to the site unless your administrator at your site in your company decided to restrict access to regions or something similar, which you can do. But otherwise, our general contract is that you have an admin type user that has full access to SafetyNet and all the reports and dashboards, and you have observers only. And observers only would typically have access to our mobile app to do the actual observations and inspections and audits. But yeah, so Lori, if you have specific questions on your contract, we can certainly take a look at that. But most likely, there's 2 types of users. You have your admin account, and then you have your observer only. The people with admin rights can see everything. Hope that answers your question. We got another question too. Hey, they have some questions. Have some questions that we'd like to discuss. And certainly you can, contact your process improvement leader, or you can contact Kieran's information. You can certainly connect with him, or if you call this number here, you'll get in touch with our whole support team. So feel free to use this number on the screen or the email, and we can discuss with you any other questions you might have. If there's any other questions, if not, we will conclude this, and I will send out the recording in a few days. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time.